Hey there, this is Rick Thomas with Thomas Family Insurance coming to you with your Medicare Monday. This week we're going to talk about how you can protect yourself from scams. All right, so my name is Rick Thomas. I do own Thomas Family Insurance, and this presentation was developed by Humana with consultation with clinical staff. It's a program they have called Programs in a Box. I use this for a lot of community events, talking to seniors all across the area, usually in group settings. But I decided to do this for you in the comfort of your own home. I used to work for Humana for a decade before I started my own agency. So Humana is one of many different providers that we offer. All right, some things to reminder. Now, in a group setting, it would be more important, like turn off your phones and keep your conversations to a minimum. This is a video. You are free to use your phone as needed. Pause the video at any time. All right, so the agenda really has four parts. We're going to talk about some facts about some scams. We're going to talk about some of the top scams and what to watch out for. I'm going to give you some tips to protect yourself and what to do if in case you're a victim of a scam. All right, the senior population experiences over $3 billion in losses each year to scams and fraud. That number is huge. All right. According to the FBI, seniors are often targeted because they tend to be trusting and they usually have financial savings, like they own their home, have good credit. All of this is attractive to scammers. There are many types of scammers and frauds that happen, including email scams, financial fraud, computer scams, telephone scams, mail fraud, identity theft, and fraud. We don't have time to talk about all of them, but we're going to focus on some of the more common scams and how to protect yourself. Scams are often considered the crime of the 21st century. People who commit fraud or scams often are very highly educated and highly motivated individuals. Many times people assume that scammers are strangers, but that is often not the case. Scammers usually try to establish a relationship or a connection with you, sometimes even a very close romantic relationship. This allows them to learn more about you and gain useful information that they can use to execute their plan. And in some cases, even close friends and family members can commit fraud against others. All right, so I don't think we have to be rocket science to know that scams are stressful. So many people around the world fall victim to scams every year. But according to the Consumer Reports, seniors lose about 3 billion, that is with a B, $3 billion a year to scams and abuse. The effects of scams are far reaching. Not only do the victims have to deal with all the substantial financial issues, but they also may experience significant emotional stress too. The Financial Industry Regulation Authority, called FINRA, found that the victims of fraud experience severe stress, anxiety, difficulty sleeping, and depression. It only makes sense. Nobody wants to be taken advantage of, and when we are, it makes us feel horrible. The impact of stress on the body is also far reaching. When you feel stressed, your body reacts by provoking the fight or flight response. The fight or flight response is designed to help you deal with a dangerous situation or a perceived dangerous situation, either by fighting it off or running away. To prepare you for those things, your nervous system floods hormones into your blood, including adrenaline and cortisol, which may cause many essential body functions to increase. Your breathing picks up, your heart beats faster, your blood sugar increases to give you more energy, your brain uses more oxygen as it moves to high alert. All at the same time, your body functions that are not needed for fight or flight will stop working, like your digestive, immune system, and reproductive systems. When stress becomes chronic, it can affect your mental and your physical health. According to the Mayo Clinic, it's linked to increased risk of anxiety, depression, digestive problems, heart disease, high blood pressure, stroke, weight gain, and memory impairment. Good news, there are ways to protect yourself from fraud and scams. In fact, we're going to start today's class off with 10 tips to keep yourself online safe. All right, so we're going to talk about some scams that you need to know about. Each year, crooks find clever schemes to swindle billions of dollars from people. One way to protect yourself, excuse me, is to be aware of the tactics that scammers use and use some common sense. We're going to take a look at 10 popular scams and some steps that you can use to keep yourself safe. The first one happened a few years ago to my own wife's grandmother, Nana. She got a phone call claiming to be the IRS. Well, in Nana's generation, the IRS are three letters and that you don't ever want to hear, and they scare the bejesus out of people. And she got a phone call saying that they were from the IRS and they're going to throw her in jail if they didn't pay her some money. Luckily, my wife's mother stepped in and ended it before it got escalated, but it was a very serious event. My wife's grandmother Nana was shaking and just crying. It was a mess. So let's talk about this scam. All right, for this one, scammers are going to call, text, or email victims claiming that they're from the IRS or some other institution. They may say the person owes some back taxes or another debt, and they're going to use scare tactics to get your attention, often threatening legal action if you don't pay immediately. There's really two types of IRS imposter scams. The tax collection is when you receive a phone call or letter claiming that you owe taxes. The scammer will demand that you pay the amount immediately with a prepaid debit card or wire you some wire money, and they're going to threaten to arrest you if you don't pay it immediately. Or you're going to get a verification scam. This is when you receive an email or text message asking you to verify your personal information. This message often includes a hyperlink that says click here or another button that takes you to a fraudulent form or website where they can access your information. Here's some tips to protect you from these types of scams. Be on guard. If someone calls you claiming to be the IRS, they are most likely not. The IRS is always going to contact you by mail before they're going to call you about unpaid taxes. If you do think it's legitimate, hang up and call the IRS directly. If there is an issue with your taxes, you could talk to someone there. Always ask the caller for their name, their badge number, and a callback number. And then call the Treasury Inspector General at 1-800-366-4484 to determine if they are actually an IRS employee. If that person is an employee, call them back. If not, go ahead and report it to them and say who called and what that callback number was. So that way they can open up an investigation to that person. Don't trust the name or the phone number on your caller ID that shows IRS. Even if the phone number links you to an IRS, it is very common for scammers to change the caller ID name and phone number to whatever they want you to see. Also, be aware of threats. The IRS is never going to threaten to arrest you for unpaid bills. You're going to owe penalties and you're going to owe taxes, but they're not going to throw you in jail for not paying those. You'll have to go to court first. Don't click on any links in an email or a text message to verify your information. This happens all the time. You think you're in the right spot, you put in your social security number and your date of birth and some other information, and now the criminals have it. Also, never pay money immediately and always be wary of any demands to wire money or pay with a prepaid debit card. If they're asking for money that way, it is very, 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 very likely it is a scam artist. All right, so phishing. This is phishing, unlike the fishing with an F like we do on the river or the lake. They both work the same way. So phishing emails and texts, it happens when scammers impersonate businesses and they try to trick you into giving out your information. Now, the way this works, they will send out millions and millions and millions of little hooks with bait on it, hoping people are going to take a bite. That's the phishing part of it. So some of the phishing emails or texts may have a message like, "We suspect an unauthorized transaction on your account. To ensure that your account is not compromised, please click on the link and confirm your identity." Or, "During our regular verification process, we could not verify your information. Please click here to update and to verify your information." Or, "Our records indicate that your account has been overcharged. You must call us within 7 days to receive your refund." I'm even getting phone calls from this all the time saying the UPS is trying to deliver a package or my Amazon account has been challenged and they want to talk to me. These are all scams. All right, so they're using the phishing, just trying to get information out of you. They don't have it yet, but if you bite on that hook and you give that information, they're going to get you. So anytime you get an email, or look for clues on it to see that it might be fraudulent. Don't pay attention to who it's from. Even an email claiming to be from a close friend or large companies can be scams. Look for misspellings and odd phrasings within the email. Look at the actual email address, not just the name that it says it's from, and it will show you if it is legitimate. So, for example, if you get an email that says Rick Thomas, when you click on that email, it should say rick@tomfam.com. If it says rick@genevarepublic.org or whatever, then that's not me. They made it to look like it was from me. So look for signs that something isn't right. If you do receive a phishing email or text, delete it. Delete any email that asks you to confirm or provide personal information like your credit card or bank account numbers, or your social security number, or any usernames or passwords. The emails or texts might look like they're from legitimate organizations like your bank, but these businesses will never ask you for your personal information over email. Never reply on links or call the phone numbers that was provided in the messages. Many times you're going to be directed to fake sites that have been set up to look real, but are all part of the scam to steal your information. If you're concerned there might be a problem with your account or you want to check in on it, the best thing you can do is to call them using the number you know is legitimate, like the number on the back of your card. And you can report emails to spam@uce.gov or to the business organization for being impersonated by the email. So, for example, if you get impersonation email from American Red Cross and it's not legitimate, send it to American Red Cross so they can investigate it. Funeral and cemetery scams. All right. So scammers, there should be a special place in hell for people who do this stuff, but they are going to take advantage of someone who's going through a grieving process. So in one of these methods, scammers are going to read obituaries and they're going to call or even attend the funeral of someone they don't even know at all. Then they're going to prey on that widow or widower by claiming that the deceased had an outstanding debt with them and they're attempting to get that money to settle the debts. Or in another method, scammers are going to take information from an obituary to build a profile for identity theft. According to AARP, within just a few key details, cyber crooks can locate and purchase a dead person's home address, social security number, and other personal data on the dark web. They will then use that information to create personal financial accounts of the victim, take out loans, or obtain health care, or file phony tax returns, or just do horrible things in the deceased's name. How can you protect yourself from scams like this? First of all, don't give anyone any money unless they're able to prove that that debt is legitimate. Also, notify Social Security, the IRS, and any bank accounts and the major credit bureaus of the loved one's passing. As soon as that is done, they're taken off the account, and then you don't have to worry about someone hacking into the system. Also, it's a good idea to leave out details in the obituary that might be used for identity theft, such as place and date of birth, middle and maiden names, or mother's maiden name, or things like this. These are all little pieces of information that the criminals can use to try to take advantage. Also, never include the deceased home address in the obituary. If the obituary notes the date and time of the funeral, burglars then know that nobody's going to be in that house when that funeral is going on, and they can go in there and take advantage. Just be careful. All right, the sweepstakes and lottery scams. These have been around forever and they're constantly evolved. I remember back in the 80s and 90s, you would get a letter from the Prince of Saudi Arabia who wants to move $10 million into your bank account. All you have to do is send them $10,000 to pay for the taxes or whatever. These are all scams, and again, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So typically now, the scammers are going to inform the victim that he or she may have won the lottery or sweepstakes, but they need to make a payment to unlock that prize. Many times, they actually will send a check and say, go ahead and deposit that check into your account, and then you need to pay us the money for the taxes and fees. Just use the money and the check that you deposit. The problem is that check's going to bounce. And so when it bounces, you've already paid out of your money, and then they don't pay you whatever that check was. So for example, you might get a $20,000 check telling that you get to keep the bulk of the money, but you just need to send back $5,000 for taxes and fees. Then you send them the money, and that check bounces, and you're out your $5,000. These scams usually come by mail, but they can also be done over the email or phone. Sometimes scammers are even going to pretend to be the government officials, saying that they're from made-up organizations like the National Consumer Protection Agency or the National Sweepstakes Bureau. Sometimes they'll even use real organizations like the FTC or the IRS. So how do you protect yourself from these? Always remember the old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If you answer a phone that seems suspicious, hang up. Also, never wire money to anyone. If you really have won a sweepstakes, you do not have to make suspicious payments within days of winning. Scammers will usually pressure you into sending them money, like a prepaid debit card or check or money order, because it ensures that they are getting the money fast before you realize something is wrong. Also, don't click on sweepstakes links. Scammers are now using social media sites to advertise for sweepstakes scams. Like if you see something says, click here to win a free iPad or click here to get a free gift card. Resist the temptation. It's also going to infect your computer with virus or malware, or ask you to enter personal information for them to take advantage of you. All right, the grandparent scam. My aunt seems to get these calls all the time, at least according to her Facebook post, and that is when someone calls pretending to be a grandchild. So for this scammer, they're going to call an older person, usually late at night, pretending to be the grandchild in trouble. They might say something like, "Hey, Grandma, do you know who this is?" And the grandparent then guesses the name of their grandchild, who sounds most like the scammer. Now, the scammer knows what name to be. So, for example, they call up and say, "Hey, Grandma, do you know who this is?" And they say, "Is this Rick?" Say, "Yeah, it's Rick. I need your help." So you just gave them the information for them to use. Many times the calls are going to come late at night because it can throw you off because you're much more less alert at night than you are in the day. And then that fake grandchild or that scammer is going to ask for money now to help them get them out of trouble. They may claim that they've been arrested or in a car accident, and they're also often going to ask for money for a cashier's check or a money order. That's because these sources of cash are untraceable. They're also going to ask someone not to tell anybody, especially their parents. They might say they're going to get in serious trouble if mom or dad find out. Or they're embarrassed because of what's going on. Recognizing the scam is the first in preventing it, but there's some other tips to keep in mind. So if you do get a call, make sure you call or text your grandchild on the phone that you have for them to make sure the story holds up. And you should also, if it is legitimate, call the child's parents, even if the grandchild told you not to, because if your grandchild really is in trouble, it's important that his parents know what's going on, despite the grandchild's wishes. It will also help to confront and question the person on the phone too. You can ask them more personal questions, try to verify their identity, or accuse them of conning you. When confronted, the scammer usually will hang up and go away. Like, for example, "Hey, do you remember that trip we took in Florida back in 1999? And if they don't know anything about it, they're going to hang up. So test them. And never wire money based upon a request made over the phone or by email, especially overseas. Wiring money is just like giving someone cash. Once it's sent, you can't get it back. Fake charities. All right. This scam usually is done by telephone, but it can also be done by email too. Scammers going to call claiming they represent a charity in need of money. Sometimes they're going to use recent disasters like tornadoes or earthquakes or fires, alleging that the donated funds will be used for that disaster recovery and the aid for the victims. Many times, these fake charities are completely bogus and your donation goes directly to a criminal's bank account. Other times, the charity will use a very small amount of your donation and use the rest for themselves. How can you protect yourself from scams like this? Only give money to organizations you're familiar with or have closely investigated. Keep in mind that large, well-known organizations like the American Red Cross are in the best position to help, so your efforts might be best focused with them. You can also visit the website charitynavigator.org or call 201 818-1288 to look into the charity that you'd like to give to investigate it more closely. Also, be cautious when you're looking to do crowdfunding platforms like GoFundMe. Only give if you've researched the cause and you're supporting it and you know it's legitimate. Oftentimes, the local news will have reports on fraudulent charities after natural disasters. If you're contacted by a new charity that you're tempted to give to, ask that person to send you information by mail. If they say no, or they try to rush you into giving money now, or propose that they want to pick up the donation in person, or they're not able to provide you with the information you want, just hang up. They're not charities, they are scam artists. It may also help put your number on the do not call list. To do this, you can go to www.donotcall.gov or by calling the 1-800 toll-free number of 1-888-382-1222. This will put you on the national do not call list, which in America, they're supposed to follow it. Not everybody does, but it will not help with the overseas callers. But it gives you an opportunity to reduce the amount of telemarketing calls that you receive. So again, that number on the phone you want to become on the do not call list, you call 1-888-382-1222. That information will be included later in a packet I'm going to send to you. All right, tech support scams. These happen quite often, especially for people who are not good with technology, and they're going to prey on computer users' concerns about viruses and other security threats to try to get some information. Many times they're going to call you claiming that they were with tech support with companies like Microsoft or Facebook or Amazon, and they detected a virus or malware on your computer. The person might know information about you, like your name, your address, or even the operating system that you're using. They often seem like very nice people with no ill will, but this is all part of their ploy to get you to trust them. Sometimes a pop-up window that will mimic an antivirus software that's being used encourage you to download a fake program for a fee or call a number to get help fixing your computer. Each of these schemes are designed to scare you into thinking you have a problem and that they can fix it, when there really is no problem at all. According to the Federal Trade Commission, they might ask you to give them remote access to your computer to install a malware that then can steal all personal information you have on your device. Or they can try to enroll you into unnecessary computer maintenance or a warranty program. Or they're going to ask for your credit card information so they can bill you for phony services or direct you to a website and ask you to enter your credit card information or other personal information, and then they have access to all that info. Each of these requests could be dangerous. If you give them your credit card information, you have given a criminal access to your credit card. If you allow them to take control of your computer, they now have access to everything stored on it, which includes private information, passwords, financial facts, and other things they can do to scam you. So how do you protect yourself from this scam? Never trust phone calls that are being made to you, ever. Large companies like Microsoft will not call you. They wait for you to call them. In many cases, real tech support specialists will ask you to provide them with access to your computer, but they will not ask you for passwords to sensitive accounts like email or banking. Do not purchase computer security over the phone or give passwords or control to your computer to anyone who calls you unexpectedly. Also, don't click on pop-up windows unless you are certain they are from a legitimate antivirus or software company. If you're not sure, call the company and ask. Keeping antivirus software on your computer helps to prevent those pop-ups. If you do get scammed, consider taking your computer to a local repair company, and they might be able to remove some of those harmful software things. All right, investment schemes. Investment schemes are another way scammers can attempt to take advantage of victims. They provide types of investment scams like pyramid schemes, Ponzi schemes, pump and dump, and more. Pyramid schemes often occur when a fraudster claims that they can turn a small investment into large profits in a short amount of time. In reality, people making money solely by recruiting new people into the program. It's often hid behind multi-level marketing patterns. But they fall apart quickly when it becomes impossible to recruit new people. Ponzi schemes involved a central scammer collecting money from new investors, and they use that to pay old investors, and they never actually invest the money. That's a huge deal several years ago. Pump and dump scams occur when a fraudster buys shares of a very low price stock or in a small company and then spreads false information to drum up interest on that stock and increase the price. After investors begin buying that stock at the higher prices, then the fraudster is going to dump his shares and vanish, leaving anybody who bought that stock with just a junk stock. So here's some ways you can protect yourself. Research the professionals. Don't trust strangers when it comes to personal finances. Before investing in anything, ask the person if they're licensed to sell you the investment and confirm which regulator issues the license. Then you can call the state securities regulator or the FIRA and verify. Only invest if you understand. If someone approaches you about investment, carefully research the opportunity first and request the details in writing. Ask lots of questions about cost, timing, risk, and other issues. Beware of common tactics. Investment scammers are often likable and seem to be trustworthy, but that doesn't mean they are. They often are masters of persuasion and know just what to say to get you to fall for their scam. Be wary of professionals who make you feel pressured or obligated to invest, like buying you a lunch or gift cards to reduce their commission fees. Be wary. Stay in control of your money. Keep an eye on the progress of your investments and insist on regular written verbal reports. If you have someone helping you finance or do your finances, make sure they're involved in all decisions that you make. Romance scams. All right. For this scam, scammers are going to create a fake identity on social media or online dating sites in order to gain trust of the victim and to form a close relationship. The FBI says that the scammer's intent is to establish a relationship as quickly as possible and to endear himself or herself to the victim and gain trust. They might even propose marriage and say they plan to meet in person, but none of that happens. Oftentimes, the scammer will say that they're in the building or construction industry completing projects overseas, which makes it easier to avoid meeting you in person. However, their only goal is to convince you to send them money. The scammer may say they need money for a medical emergency or an unexpected legal fee. Let's talk how to protect yourself. Be careful on what you post and make public online. Scammers can use details shared on social media and dating sites to better understand and target you. Research the person's photo and profile using online searches to see if that image or that name shows up elsewhere. Go slowly and ask lots of questions. Beware if the individual seems too perfect or quickly asks you to leave the dating service or social media site to communicate directly. Always be aware if the individual promises to meet in person, but then always comes up with an excuse why he or she cannot. If you haven't met in person after a few months, for whatever reason, you have a very good reason to be suspicious. And never send money to anyone that you've only communicated with online or by phone. Medicare scams. This one is personal. One type of identity theft is Medicare scams. This scam sounds like an IRS imposter scam we talked about earlier, but the scammer is calling a senior claiming to be from Medicare company, CMS, or any other regulatory body, and they're going to ask to see if you got your new Medicare card. These calls happen all the time. First, that scammer does not work for Medicare. Medicare will never, ever, ever, ever call you. They send letters. Social Security will not call you. What this is a deceptive practice to try to get your Medicare number so they can move you to whatever Medicare plan that they want. So to protect yourself from these scams, never ever respond to a phone request that says they're CMS that they want your information. Hang up and call the source direct. Call 1-800-MEDICARE if someone is saying there's a problem with your Medicare account. On a related note, Medicare fraud is a whole nother issue. This happens when Medicare is being billed for services and supplies that you never received. In many cases, this occurs when scammers provide fake services to seniors at makeshift mobile clinics. They bill Medicare for these services and then they pocket their money. In others, it occurs when a healthcare provider bills Medicare for services you never received. If you suspect Medicare fraud, it is important to contact Medicare or your insurance company. Now, this one comes from the heart, my clients, because Medicare fraud, I lose clients on a monthly basis who fall victim to these scam artists. They call it to be very misleading to say that they need to update your Medicare account or send you a new Medicare number or to give you information about a free Fitbit or whatever. It is a scam. Be careful. Hang up, call the source directly if you think it might be legitimate. All right, so what do we do if you found yourself to be a victim of a scam? All right, there's some steps we can take. First, file a police report with your local police department. You should also get a copy of the report for your records and submit it to others like creditors, your bank accounts that might need proof of the crime. Next, close the affected bank accounts or credit cards if necessary. If you don't think you need to close these accounts, you still need to contact your bank and tell them what happened and ask them to watch your account for suspicious activity. They can also give you advice on whether or not to close the account. You might also want to file a fraud report with the bank's fraud department. And if you open up a new account, make sure you use new passwords and new PINs. Then place a fraud alert on your credit file by contacting one of the three major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion. When one credit bureau confirms your fraud alert, the other two is going to be notified to do the same. The fraud alert notifies creditors to contact you before opening up any new account or making changes on your current accounts. You can also file an account with the FTC. The FTC shares complaints and information from victims with law enforcement agencies, credit bureaus, and other government agencies. You can file a complaint online at www.ftccomplaintassistant.gov or by calling 877-FTC-HELP. Again, all this phone numbers and websites will be on the handout included with this email. All right, you can also contact your state attorney general or the Better Business Bureau to alert them of the scam. They might be able to offer you tips or support. It may not change your circumstance by you reporting this. You might be stuck and you might be out of luck, but by reporting it, you might be able to avoid somebody else to fall the victim to the same thing that you did. All right. Also, lastly, make sure you follow up with everything. Contact your bank, creditors, credit ratings bureaus to make sure everything's been straightened out. All right. In review, scams are a big deal. All right. Up here are some of the references that we used. It's a big deal not just for your pocketbook, but also for your physical, mental, and emotional health. Scammers are always looking for new creative ways to execute their swindles, so it's important you learn as much as you can about the latest scams, including how to protect yourself. Today we talked about 10 common scams, but there are many, many more than that. Pay attention. Again, if you feel like you've been a victim of a scam, report it so we can stop other people from being victimized. All right. Thank you for attending this video. That does conclude the presentation, again, put on by Humana Insurance. My cell phone number, if you need me, is 217-740-4166. The office number, and again, my assistant Trish handles that number. The office is 217-771-1722. You also can see my email address on the screen at rick@tomfam.com. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this Medicare Monday. God bless.